proprio mezzo campo a difendere, e un Milan invece...
Giroud in area, si gira, sinistro, rete, ha raddoppiato il Milan al 33esimo minuto, nel corso della ripresa cambia ancora il parziale a San Siro, gol capolavoro di Olivier Giroud, spalle alla porta, in area di rigore, si libera sul piede sinistro, manda a vuoto l'intervento del difensore dell'Inter e piazza il suo sinistro nell'angolino più lontano, lì dove Samir Handanovic.
Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, benvenuti all'MLM Podcast, guys. It's me, Max Lombardi, your host for today. And we've got a lot to talk about in the Milan world. What a strange week. What a weird week. If you told me we were going to beat Bologna 3-0 comfortably, I think I would have called your parents and asked them to make sure they were supervising you. However, we did pretty well, didn't we? So lots to talk about today. I'm going to just jolt through it. It's going to be a quick one. I don't think I can talk to myself for more than 20, 30 minutes. So let's see what happens. Right. Let's go. So look, we went to Bologna, starting 11, Mike Maignan in goal. We had De Winter, Gabbia and Pavlovic returning from his 9 stitches in the head. Maybe that gave him some common sense. Not sure, but let's see. Bartazaghi, Atakami coming in for the injured Salamakers. We saw the return of Fofana, Modric and Rabiot in that 3 in midfield. And we saw Ruben Loftus-Cheek just behind Nkunku. So again, no Leao, no Pulisic, no Salamakers, no Fulkrug from the start, and a bit of a strange mashed up starting formation. Again, RLC up top. You know, I mean, he proved me wrong, which is great, but for me, RLC, he spends more of his time throwing his hands up in the air and huffing about what he's missed or effed up than he does celebrating or doing anything good. But anyway, this was a good game for him. So let's review the game. So straight away, couple of chances in the first half. Really good start for us. So RLC with a great run through from the halfway line, carried the ball really well. And you can see the exact moment his brain switches off in the area and he just essentially passes it to the keeper. Again, he's not a centre forward, so I guess he doesn't have that killer instinct, but really good to get into the area. And then just completely gives the ball away back to the keeper. Shocking. Anyway, there's another really good chance. It's a great cross by Takami. And Fofana gets his head on it. At the time, I was like, how has he missed that? It's a sitter. Watching the replay, it's quite a difficult header to actually get right. So we did well to get it as close as he did. And I'm thinking, wow, so we've started really well. We're all over Bologna. We've had 2 really good chances. This is the sort of thing where we screw it up now. We won't score, you know, it'll be one of those games, but I was completely wrong. So as the game progresses, there's another really good cross from Etakami and Nkunku with sort of a bullet header, but kind of at the keeper, but forces a really good save. It comes back to Nkunku, who does this kind of like breakdance move on the floor and manages to header the ball somehow off the literal toe of the Bologna defender. The ball ricochets its way back to Rabiot. And Rabiot, with a bit of smarts, squares it lovely to RLC. RLC's got no time to think, which is probably a good thing. And he nails it just underneath the crossbar and it's 1-0. I mean, I'm waiting for that goal. I'm thinking, is it going to be called off for something? Is it offside? Is it a problem? Is it not? But fortunately, it's not. It's fine. It counts. And Nkunku's kept his line well. There's no handballs. There's no fouls. There's no nothing. Which was surprising because they love to give those sort of things against us. Anyway, so it's 1-0. I'm thinking, blimey, is this 1-0? Shut up shop, the usual? No, it's not. And then we get another chance. It's a great through ball again. And Nkunku does, I mean, what a professional job on the keeper. Takes a good, really good touch to the side, gets clattered essentially by the keeper. Plays on it a bit, quite a smart penalty, but it is a penalty by the letter of the law. Really clear penalty. I think any sort of avid Milan fan who thinks Milan get penalties for other reasons or don't get them or whatever cannot argue that penalty. Really good play from Nkunku. And Nkunku slots the penalty away really nicely, actually. Much better than the last penalty he took. But he makes that, is that 5 goals now for Milan, which is really strong. Started to get going. A couple of penalties in there, but still, goal's a goal. Just hello to Rods Varta in the chat. What are you saying, fella? Allegri's attacking tactic are dependent on one of the forwards being strong and able to hold the opponents. Absolutely. I think if you go back to even in 2011, Rod, what you'll see is Ibrahimovic with Robinho, or even Ibrahimovic with Nocerino behind him, or something similar. He's always gone for a big man and a smaller man. And that's why I think you see RLC with Nkunku. And also I think why you Pulisic and Leao maybe doesn't work, or maybe Leao and Nkunku doesn't work. I think you need the big man with the quicker one. And in this game, definitely RLC was the big guy, and Nkunku was playing around him almost like a second striker, which is definitely his position. He's definitely not an out-and-out number 9 centre forward. I know a lot of people are calling for Fulkrug to start with Nkunku or Leao or someone around him. Maybe we'll see that as he gets fitter, but great point, Rod. Thank you for that. We get to half-time. It's 2-0. We're completely comfortable, dominating the game in ascendancy, something I haven't said at all this season, let's be honest. I think Fabregas is probably having kittens at the way that we're playing, probably jealous that we can actually score a goal as well. During the second half, again, we are kind of gifted a goal. So Miranda with an awful header across his area. Literally, he could throw that ball to anybody in any space in that half, and he throws it to the one area where we have one Milan player. That player is Rabiot. Great first touch, great sort of dart into the area, fantastic finish, 3-0. After that, we're able to sub some players off to give some players a run out. And actually what we see is, again, a controlled, well-managed game. I really liked Yashari when he came on. I thought it was really good. I thought he's never gonna be Modric at this point, is it? Even Modric at 40, but he's really good at playing the ball through the lines. He's very smart. He's very strong on the ball as well. And it's a shame he was injured, because I think by now we might be seeing more of him. Anyway, he comes on, great cameo. Richie comes on as well. Tomori comes on as well, plays right back. The game kind of finishes off nicely. I think even Fulkrug comes on, has a couple of great chances. One he probably should score. One which is an absolute fantastic header. Great save offside. The goalkeeper for Bologna is very lucky to stay on the pitch as well. I don't know if you notice it, but there's a point where he shoves Nkunku to the ground. I mean, that's a yellow card. There are points where he probably should have picked up a second yellow. So very lucky to stay on the pitch. The other thing I want to talk about is the penalties. So this is a Stonewall penalty, and it's rare that we get penalties at Milan. This will be, our third or fourth maybe this season. We are conceding a lot of penalties. And I did listen to something about how, because we allow the opponent to pepper our box so much, we will be more susceptible to penalties. And I think that's a really valid point. I think, if you play that style where you're inviting the pressure on and you're expecting your, let's be honest, world-class keeper to make save after save after save, not that you had to do anything in this game, by the way, you are going to invite more chances for penalties. That's probably quite a fair point. I think something I would say back to that is, though, from a Milan perspective, if you look at some of the penalties that we haven't got, and you compare them to penalties that we've been given against, whether you think the penalties given against us are spot on or not, I think most of them are, to be fair. Where's the consistency? It's kind of what I'd say, just from a genuine fan perspective, not just objective, just a genuine fan perspective. If Pavlovic on Thuram is a penalty, and because he missed the penalty, we probably don't put that much gravitas on it. For a step on foot in the penalty after the ball has moved away, why is Fulkrug's not a penalty then? That could have won us that game. There's lots of different penalties or not penalties, or handballs or not handballs, or situations where an opponent will get the penalty but Milan won't. Now I don't know. It's probably not conspiracy. It's probably not refs against us in particular, but there is a massive inconsistency in Serie A in the refereeing, especially the penalty shout-outs. So I don't think there's any problem in a Milan fan saying they feel a little bit aggrieved with penalties not given for them when other teams are getting those penalties or similar types of penalties. The Bartosaghi penalty from last week is rough, it's harsh, but it's a definite penalty. There's no arguing that. There's a couple, though, that you think, well, if that's a penalty, why wasn't this a penalty? And you see these instances played out in other games, like the Napoli-Juventus game as well. Why is that not a penalty then? And you build a narrative. You start to think, how come the referees are so different to Milan? It's probably not a thing. We want to talk about facts, blah, blah, blah. But from a fan perspective, you are allowed to talk about emotion as well. So I think that's everything from that game. It continues our unbeaten run to 22 games, the best unbeaten run in Europe at the moment in the top 5 leagues. It's not a record-breaking run for Milan. I think Pioli had more games unbeaten, 27, I believe. And obviously, of course, we have one of the records in all of Europe. I think it's Saki Capello for absolute ridiculous amount of games, because it makes me laugh when people talk about the Invincibles at Arsenal and their massively long run and how amazing they were. Milan have done that and some, just saying. In probably a more difficult era for Milan to do it in, where Serie A was the absolute epitome of Calcio and football, whereas the Prem probably wasn't then. It was good, but it probably wasn't the best like it is now. Rod says it is also because Milan players do not surround the referee and pressure him. Possibly. Yeah, possibly. But yeah, Milan players get yellow cards like Modric when they get shoved in the back, but the other player doesn't get anything. Or when Rabiot slightly argues, or when Mike Maignan gets his foot stood on, he gets a yellow card. It's mental, isn't it? Absolutely mental. Anyway, so the last time we were at 50 points after 23 games was the 03-04 season. Of course, it's the one where we won the league, blah, blah, blah. After we won the Champions League. That's right, won the Champions League. I don't want to put too much into that. I think it's just a really good run. So talking about the league, top 4, Scudetto, I think, at the beginning of the season, I said, and you can quote me on this, I said, Milan should be aiming to contend for the Scudetto. They've got no cups. They're a big team. If they get their transfer market right, that's what they should be doing. However, me and Gina kind of sat and we were like, looking at this management, the ambition, the lack of ambition, what they say, what they don't say, this constant top four. There's no chance we're going to be here or there or anywhere close to it. If anything, we were a bit worried we wouldn't even get it to begin with. We looked at that back three of Gavia Tomori and Pavlovic based on the season before, and we thought, there's no way. We were hopeful for Modric, we were hopeful for a couple of the new players, but I think we were pessimistic, very pessimistic. I think now when you look at how we're doing, regardless of how we're playing, because we are playing shit, like this Bologna game is an outlier. Let's not pretend that just because we beat Bologna in this way, that undoes all the matches we watched, like the Genoa, the Fiorentina, the Como, and all that sort of stuff. Second star is coming, Jan. If only, mate. If only. So I think just don't get too carried away with the Bologna game. But this game was like the Udinese game from a long time ago. We didn't need to suffer. We didn't need to do all this. There's a question around there, is Bologna awful? And they weren't great. They had some injuries themselves and centre-back. But to beat Bologna away, 3-0, no Leao and Pulisic. Leao and Pulisic rested now for about 20 days. A good cameo for Fulkrug, confidence booster for Nkunku, even RLC getting a goal. I think that's a really positive thing. We're 5 points behind Inter. That's great. This is where we were when we won the Scudetto last time. I think it was 4 points behind. If Inter drop anything and we keep the run up and we get to that derby 3 points behind, or even less, anything's to play for. Do I think Milan? I'm more worried about Milan not keeping this up than I am about Inter, if I'm really honest. They are quite clinical. For all the banter and all the taking the piss and everything about them getting absolutely battered in the most embarrassing Champions League final of all time, of holding that 20 Scudetto because they beat us in the derby, the Scudetto board being made out of cardboard like their 20th Scudetto. Let's remember, they've won 19 Scudetti, one was handed to them. This, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. So, look, whatever you say, they're clinical, they have a strong team, good core of players, their wages are huge. They should be where they are. There's no doubt about that. Napoli overperformed last year. They're struggling this year. We underperformed last year massively. Maybe you could say we're overperforming this year so far. So I think, look, 5 points behind Inter. We're 4 points ahead of Napoli. This win was really, really important to solidify top four. So if we'd lost this game, we could be in trouble here. We could be looking at 4th, sliding down to 5th if we have a bad game next run. So I think this was a really important 3 points, an actual must-win game. Jan says Inter have a torrid run of 5 games coming against some strong sides. Time for us to pounce. It sounds silly, but if Inter drop points before the derby, I think it's ours to lose. Oh, Jan, calma, fratello, calma. It's Inter's to lose. Don't put the pressure on them. They're the team. They're the treble team. They're the ones with all the bullshit and all the banter and all the anger and all the quality and all the crap. This is their Scudetto to lose. They are by far, on paper, the best team in Serie A. We've been saying it on this podcast for 2-3 seasons, actually. I think Milan have got a chance. Did I think they'd have one? Absolutely not. Am I eating a bit of humble pie? Maybe. But I think after those 3 games before the Bologna game, a lot of people who said, if Milan play like shit but win and get results, it doesn't matter. We're starting to say things like, oh my God, I can't watch this anymore. So look, I think Milan are doing well. They're doing what they can. There's a lot of football still to play. We are only in Serie A. This is our only competition. It should be what we put all our eggs in our basket. Allegri's very clever. He knows what he's doing. Just to Jan's point again, we have a more experienced manager than Kivu, doing a good job though. Allegri has the means to put a charge together, especially with 1 game a week. I think the fixture congestion will provide tricky for Inter and Kivu to manage. Yeah, again, Jan, absolutely spot on. Kivu's done really well, actually. He's got this weird complex where he thinks everyone's against him, and maybe that works in his favour. He said that many people put into 10th because of him. Bollocks. No one said that. That team is well put together. Let's see, Jan. I like it. I like your enthusiasm. I like this. I'd love to see this after all the shit we had to put up with last season. This would be absolutely fantastic. But let's not get carried away. So look, we're talking about the team. We're talking about how we've done so well into their strength and depth. Something we don't have is strength and depth, and that brings me nicely onto Mercato. Or maybe should I talk about? Actually, let's talk about Inter for a second. So, Serie A proving yet again that Italy works in the strangest ways. So it's okay to throw stones at players in game and have no in-game consequence whatsoever. It's okay to then be banned from Italy, from the Serie A, from the FIGC. For away matches. Very clever, isn't it? Banned for away matches. I think if you throw things at people, you should be banned for all matches. But anyway, but yet they're allowed to go to the derby. Wonderful. Look, I'm not sat here saying that all the Inter fans in that end are disgraceful. You know, they should all be banned. It's all their fault. But there is a fucking idiot in there that did something really stupid. And protocol would suggest sometimes a 3-0 win in the other favour. Now, a guy on X, a fucking idiot that seems to jump into my mentions a lot, don't know why, said, you know, it doesn't happen, it's never happened before. Find me a point in Serie A where it happened before. And I'll tell you a time when it happened, when a stupid Milan fan did the same in the 70s. And they won the game against Roma, but Roma were given the win eventually by the judges. So it has happened ages ago, don't get me wrong, but you said, has it ever happened? And it has. It also happened in the Champions League when yet again an Inter fan threw a flare at Nelson Dida in the semi-finals of the Champions League, in that very famous still of Rui Costa with his arm on Materazzi. So it has happened before, and that was a 3-0 win at Tavolino as well. So look, I think it's mental that they can still attend the derby. Mental, absolutely mental. What I also find incredible is that the Gazzetta dello Sport, or the Corriere dello Sport, sorry, still gave Aldero a 7, noting how fantastic he was and how professional he was, even though he conceded goals and Inter won. Interesting complex going on in Serie A. Say what you want to me, but I just have this thing that if it was anybody else, it could be different. Don't know. Don't come at me. Just the opinion. Jan says hard not to get slightly carried away. I was this confident under Pioli at this stage, and that was with him at the helm and a fairly inexperienced squad. We have a more experienced manager now, and arguably squad that 21-22. Arguably squad, I guess that meant better than 21-22, which is why I feel we'll do it 2 stars again. I think, Jan, for me, so what I'm going to talk about next is the depth, the quality and depth, and the Mercato. So this Mercato was a good opportunity to strengthen the team in some of the areas that were a bit shaky. Now, I really don't agree with the narrative that because we're playing once a week, we should have less players of quality or less players numerically. I get something less, but I think we've taken that to an extreme, to the point that most of our substitutions are reserve goalkeepers. I'm a bit worried about these injuries and what happens when we have an injury. Now, the Bologna game, great. And Kunku and RRC do the business. But is that going to happen every week? I don't know. I just don't know. Leao and Pulisic have had a great campaign despite their constant injuries. And I can't help but think what it'd be like if we'd had them at full strength. But that proves the strength and depth thing. Fulkrug, fine, but I don't know. Good player, good sort of generals, fitted in well. Fans love him, which is great. But is he that quality? Is he the game changer? Does he sposta l'equilibrio? I don't know. Probably not. The other Mercato was fairly sort of really nothing happened. We signed a couple of youth players. A really good player we signed was Alfaggio Cisse, who's coming on loan at Catanzaro on Serie B, but is a Verona player. Sounds about 10 million or something like that. Very, very highly rated player. Could do a job. We'll see. But that's it. Obviously, the Mateta debacle. Now, if you follow the Substack, you would have seen everything I wrote on the Substack about this. And just to kind of give you my take, my sort of 2 pence on it, I think Milan have done the right thing by not signing him. I think it would be silly. Actually, no, it would be stupid to sign a player that is injured for 30+ million quid. Whether you can have him in now and you can play through an injury, whether you can have him in the summer, we shouldn't have players playing through injury. This isn't Sunday League where you can get through with a dodgy knee. This is professional football at the highest level. So I think they did the right thing by not purchasing him. What I can't get my head around, and I think what really frustrates me, and again probably adds into the narrative around how I feel about the management in a whole, is I don't understand why this is happening. I've listened to some podcasts say it was an opportunity. This is different. This is an opportunity. You go after it. Doesn't that just spell even more incompetence around planning and having some kind of strategy that we're going after these opportunities? What are you talking about? We're second in the league. We have money. We're not poor. We're financially stable. That's a one bloody thing they have done. And we're sat here going, oh yeah, Mateta this, Mateta that. I don't get it. I don't know why you guys justify this shit. I guess that gets on my nerves. For me, this is the problem. So trying to sign Mateta in the last few days of the Mercato, and having absolutely no backup plan whatsoever. That's the problem here. I heard someone say, well, you're not just going to spend 35 million because you've got it. No, I don't think we should be. That's the wrong conversation. It's not about you had 35 million, so why don't you spend it on something else? It's if the budget's there, if you have a plan to recruit a player, if you think you need that position, where is your backup plan? You don't need to spend 30-something million on a forward. If you feel you are numerically at disadvantage because the injuries of Leao and Pulisic and you need another centre forward, go get one. If you don't need a centre forward, then why are you getting one? We still have Jimenez to come back. Whether the plan is to sell Jimenez or whatever, Mateta Jr., I don't know. But right now we need some success. I don't understand it. Also, Jan just said it there, actually. Jan, you might as well jump on in a sec if you're on it. I didn't want Mateta personally, but the whole saga still managed to wind me up, and then we didn't sign him. It's not that I'm annoyed. We did extra tests. It's more that if we felt we needed him. Why we waited till the 11th hour to get it done? Total incompetence by the management. A centre-back would have probably competed us this season and really give Allegri the tools to kick in. Oh my God, Jan, I couldn't agree with you more. So we need a centre-back. We need someone with a bit more experience. Now, De Winter has proved he's actually quite good with the ball, and he has got so much better. If you look at the De Winter at the beginning of the season, even after a couple of games, it wasn't great, but he's been really good with the ball. We need a ball-carrying centre-back with experience, is what I think. We're one injury away from Modugu really starting. Atakami doesn't fill me with lots of working and listening. Fair enough, mate. Atakami doesn't fill me with much confidence, although we did have a decent game against Bologna. There's something about him that I'm still not 100% sure about. So I kind of sit here and go, we had a chance, we had the money, we clearly had it because we were going to spend it, but we didn't spend it. We took a player on loan with an option to buy him for 5 million in the summer. No centre backs, no midfielders, no wing backs, no centre forwards. So what's the plan, Milan? What's the plan for Lani? Of course, his name's all over it. Whether that's true or not, whether that's the media or not, I don't know. But that's what we're hearing. So yeah, I think the Mercato wasn't great. I think I'd probably give it a really low mark, something like a 3 out of 10, just because there just wasn't any. I think 1 is for Fulkrug, 2 is for some good youth prospects. That's about it. I don't think we strengthened. I really think Allegri, for all the shit he gets, and I'm just going to put this graphic up for a bit of fun, for all the shit he gets, and he gets a lot, and rightfully so, because some of these games are horrific. He's doing a good job. He's really, really compacted this team. We are numerically better at the back. And it is a thing of numbers. If you play 3 at the back with 2 fullbacks, you should be stronger at the back. We can see too many chances. We've had some rough games, but at the end of the day, the result has come along with it, and that's something that we haven't seen for a couple of seasons. So, full credit to him. 5 million a year to come top 4, though. Great, isn't it? Corto Muso, fair play. Long may it continue. A Milan fan can only want Milan to win. They can only want Milan to do well. You can hate the management. You can hate the way this team is set up. You can hate all the dodgy dealings with Elliott going and the new people coming in and Cardinale turning up for 2 days and fucking off again. You can hate all of that stuff. But you can't. You can only feel pride when your team wins if you're a real fan and you support the team. Anyway, so look, great. Well done, Max. Well done, Milan. Great game against Bologna. Horrific Mercato. I still think the team's too light for a Scudetto, Jan. There's not enough players in this team. I think your two injuries in the most important stretch away from fielding really low quality alternatives. And if we get to these big games at the end of the season, when Napoli are out the Champions League, when Inter probably are going to be out the Champions League, when the teams are full strength, ready to go, I think that's when we'll struggle. I think that's when potentially Milan could start to decline down the table. I hope not. Hello, Ferdinand. Surprise podcast. Yes, mate. I've got a window before I go to work this afternoon, and I needed to get one done. I'm a bit conscious that the MLM isn't as frequent as it used to be, and I want us to continue to grow. So I've kind of jumped in here. What I find strange, this is from Jan. What I find strange is he brought a couple of players on early in the season from the youth, and now with a slightly depleted bench, we aren't seeing them to even make numbers up. Wonder what's changed. Maybe it's the quality, Jan. This is an important stretch for Milan. We have to win, and maybe he doesn't feel confident or doesn't feel they're good enough yet. Fardina says Allegri did well so far, but that doesn't mean it will continue this way till the end of the season. The squad is still short, mate. Yeah, it's literally what I said, Fardina. I completely agree with you, mate. I think there is something a bit fundamental in the strategy piece around this team. So yeah, I think that's everything. Let me just check my notes. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I guess the last thing before the very last thing is probably just Rabiot. What a monster Rabiot is, eh? Absolute monster of a player. Great player. 4 goals, 4 assists. Monster in the centre of midfield. Great at moving the ball forwards. Good defensively. Great in the air. Great left foot. 10 million, if that. Fantastic. Wow, what a purchase. Thank God he had a fight with what's his name at Marseille. And thank God Allegri brought him in, and he's proven to be a fantastic player. Dare I say the best transfer for Milan? Maybe, people will jump in on this, Serie A, maybe. Great purchase. Really impressed. Again, for all the things you can throw at the management, you can't complain about a Rabiot transfer. Even the most hardened Milan fan would not be able to complain about Rabiot. Jan says, I get it, I do, but I think we've still struggled with injuries and stayed on this unbeaten run. True. The defence worries me on numbers, but everything else feels okay. Yeah, fair, Jan. Fair. Once again, 2 stars. Brilliant, mate. Honestly, I think like me, Jan, you've been a fan for a really long time. And I think as Milan fans, we are just naturally pessimistic. So your optimism is fantastic. I'm naturally pessimistic because I've watched this crumble so many times, even with great managers and great players back in the day. So let's see what happens. Last thing, just to plug the Substack. So look, guys, we have a Substack. It's £3.50 a month, or you can become a founding member for £40. It gives you the access. Big thank you to Shane, Raja, and Rune, who are our founding members, and a big shout out to Buzz as well, who's a monthly subscriber. This is the last or latest piece I did. I did a free piece for everybody to be able to read, to see if you're interested in kind of how we write. Called RRC Scored and Kunku Scored and Reality Briefly Collapsed. So look, guys, if you enjoy kind of a sarcastic play on the way that we are, this is kind of your thing. We really appreciate all the support. Massive thank you to all the people that joined us live on YouTube and X. I really appreciate on this random Friday morning. We really appreciate all the support that you give us, the growth, everything. We really couldn't do this without you guys. We really appreciate it. Big shout out to the podcast as well for sharing our work. And we really appreciate you as well. You can get us on Spotify. If you can give us a 5-star rating, that would be fantastic. Thank you to all those that have done that already. You can get us on Apple Podcast as well. We're, of course, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on X, on any platform you think. Just type in MLM Podcast and you will find us. And I think that's it. I've managed to waffle on for 32 minutes. I don't know how on my own, but I've managed. Have a fantastic week. We've got Pisa next. Massive load of rest in between, which is absolutely fantastic. And I hope for another 3 points and another bit of pressure on Inter and the teams below us. Sempre forza Milan. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend, guys. Grazie. Ciao, ciao.